Good morning, and I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. It is 2025 and we're starting a new year. This is our first full week. How's it going for you? Excuse me. I have a little bit of cold, so you have to excuse me a little bit. So tell me, what's going on in your life? What's going on in your new career? What's going on where you live? Why don't you tell me who's here? Where are you coming from? Put comment right in the chat and I will get it. So today we're going to talk about why 2025 will push leaders to the brink. It is a totally different world, and we're going to talk about that today. But first, let me tell you a story. Um, I was out in New York most of December, visiting family, enjoying the holidays. And my older daughter started doing a lot of running in the past year or so. We did a half marathon together April last year, 2024. Half of the Big Sur Marathon. We did that together. But I said to her, I like my knees, so I'm going to walk. I'm not going to run. And we had a great time. We truly, truly enjoyed it. We had great weather. It was on US 1, right along the coast. It was beautiful. So while I'm out in New York this time, she goes to me and says, Dad, I have another one. The Detroit International Marathon. And I'm thinking, Detroit, okay. It's in October, so I had plenty of time. But what I decided to do this time is I'm going to run it, this half marathon, instead of walking it. And, and why I bring this up is that this is a time of the year that we make goals and New Year's resolutions, right? Did you make yours? Did you make yours? Put them in the chat if you made a New Year's goal. Now, I want to call them goals, not resolutions, or because goals are different. Goals we set up for, goals we plan. Um, and this one, although it sounds like it's going to be something healthy, Jim is going to start running, he's going to get healthy. Actually, my whole reason for doing this half marathon is actually to share time with my daughter. She got into this. She loves the running. I'm more into bicycling, but it's kind of family time. It's doing things together. Yes, there's the whole health aspects to it, but it's planning time for things that are important to me. So, what's important to you? And what are you doing this year? Let me know. So, what else is going on out there? So today we're going to talk about why 2025 are going to push leaders to the brink. It is not just another year. It's going to test leaders like never before. Today, we're not going to be solving the problems of these challenges of 2025, but we're going to be recognizing the enormity of them. And by the end, you'll understand why this moment in time is nothing like we faced ever before. And in streams that we'll be doing in the next couple months and weeks, we'll be talking about how to solve these things. But I want to put you in some context here. Let's think about um, the calm before the storm. The calm before the storm. I'm going to take you back to 2019. What were we focused on as leaders in 2019? What were the problems we were talking about in 2019. If you have any thoughts, put them in the chat. I remember one of the big things we were talking about as leaders is focusing on three things. Leaders focused on engagement, employee engagement. We were talking about it for years. Uh, we had a statistic year by year, but the average was that 70% of our workforce is at some level unengaged. That means only 30% of our workers are fully engaged and working and doing things. 70% is some level of disengaged, from a little bit to a lot, right? The second thing we were working on is retention, especially in tech. Um, it was a new world where people stay about 2 years is a lifetime, and after 2 years, we're leaving and jumping to the next thing, and trying to do something new and grow our resume and learn more. It was completely different. We had a hard time keeping people past 2 or 3 years. The third thing that we were focused on in 2019 is all about digital transformation. How do we bring the digital world and make things better, get things out in the media? I wanted to say it was a whole different world in 2019. Buying habits were pretty predictable. Consumers and businesses bought what they needed. It was really a simpler time when the big debates were, should we go to an open office layout? Why don't we put cold brew on tap and get people to stay longer and be more engaged? Um, so we had those things, right? I want to say good morning, Laura. Thanks for showing up. I love that you come. Bring some friends with you next time, please. And today we're talking about leaders getting to the brink. So um, let's get back to that. Um, you know, Then what happened right after 2019? We had the year of 2020. COVID-19 changes the world, not just our city, our company, our whatever. It totally was a global change. And overnight, companies went remote, where all of a sudden we're talking about, do you have Wi-Fi? Do you have good enough Wi-Fi at home? Maybe we should get you an ergonomic chair. Just figure it out. Just figure it out. We went from, gee, I don't like the idea of people working at home. I don't think they're going to work. I think production will be down. And all of a sudden we made it happen. Um, I remember I was working for Ancestry.com at the time, and people are now working from home. Some of the bigger problems that we ran into is, I have my kids at home too. How do I do work? My husband's here, my wife's here. We're crammed into one room and trying to make it all work and not have your kids running around in the background of your Zoom call, right? Remember those days. Um, and it was a big change, and we learned to adapt. It shows how flexible we can be as people when we have to. But at the same time, things got drastic. Layoffs swept through all industries as businesses prioritize survival. Um, we the whole buying habits completely changed. The idea of employee engagement was more about understanding how they work from home. How do they understand and get meetings done? How do we make things happen? engagement took on a whole new emotional stability, working from home thing, right? And buying habits, of course, drastically changed. Um, we went from going to the store to buying everything online. And I could tell you, for some people, that has never changed, went back, right? And that's some of the things that we're going to talk about, right? People flocking to these different things. So let's go to the next year, 2021. Some companies started seeing a boom in things that they had to sell and work. Um, Take a look at Peloton. Peloton is a prime example. Um, People are from home. They're not doing very much. They can't go out to the movies. They can't go out to the restaurants. They're stuck at home. Exercise equipment became enormous. Peloton went through the roof selling stuff. So the great rehiring began. Companies were convinced that this post pandemic boom would really last. And it really wasn't post pandemic yet. It was still going, right? That's part of the problem. But a number of companies really went out and hired. I know Amazon, for example, in 2021, they employed an extra 1.3 million people globally, right? Adding hundreds of thousands of workers and warehouses and delivery. They had all that logistics to handle with all the online purchasing, right? So a hiring spree just was justified. Um, and there were concerns about the current workforce having burnout, high turnover, and reliance on temporary layers. So they went out and hired and hired and hired. Meta, which Facebook, right? We called Facebook. They significantly increased their workforce in 2021, releasing their vision of metaverse. Right, this is when that whole thing came in, and they believe that digital acceleration, the whole digital transformation thing, is going to be really accelerated and would sustain long-term growth, right? Google had ramped up to do a lot more cloud computing, a lot more advertising, right, to pick up all that stuff. Um, Zoom, of course, Zoom was hiring rapidly, but they were more careful and they managed it actually pretty well. Um, so the thing is, we were hiring like crazy. What I realized at that time, a lot of leaders were saying, holy shit, I can hire from anywhere. I am no longer bound to the realm of local to the office, right? I can hire from anywhere. Anybody with a phone and an internet and a computer, boom, I can hire them. So we went from laying off, being very careful, business survival, to hiring like crazy, over expanding. Um, wow, anybody I can hire. Um, so all these behaviors and buying behaviors are now rippling through different businesses, cutting non-essential spending. And I'll tell you something else that happened at this time. People lost a lot of loyalty to brands. They became a lot more selective on what they're buying, more value, when weren't sure when this whole thing was going to be over and we're going to go back to normal. So that also changed. Now, Let's go to 2022. Inflation starts to happen. We're talking about recession. The first cracks are starting to happen. It's hitting hard. Interest rates are going up. Borrowing became expensive. There was a while before this where interest rates for mortgages were like 1-2%, right? Especially if you were refinancing and you had good credit, it was cheap to borrow money. Now it's soaring up, which changes the whole housing market, changes how businesses borrow money and do things for buying in their company, procurement. Leaders are juggling costs and mounting pressure to avoid layoffs because now they're saying they overexpanded. They're asking questions. Do we really need a holiday party this year? Do we really need to do this? Do we really need to do that? Um, I could tell you um, probably last year or maybe 2023. My wife and I are in San Francisco. We're in the city. We're enjoying getting back out and around. And we're walking through Chinatown. And on the edge of Chinatown is this French restaurant we decided to go into. And we really liked it. Um, and I think it was like a Thursday or Friday evening. And it's 6 o'clock. The place is empty. We were the only two there, and we're sitting at the bar, and we're talking to the wait staff and the bartender. We love sitting at the bar, to tell you the truth. Since we're out on our own and the kids are grown up, we love sitting at the bar. It's our thing now. But we're talking to them, and they said, "Oh yeah, when you guys are done, we're going to close up." Close up? It's Thursday night. Where is everybody? Well, because people are not going into the office, and this is downtown San Francisco, there are no people coming in after work for drinks, no group dinners, none of that. That has all stopped. So you could see how the behavior change is going to ripple through the entire economy. It isn't just people in offices, right? So we're seeing that happen um, in 2022. Buying habits further evolve. Businesses are scrutinizing every expense, and customers are demanding faster, cheaper, better, all at once. There's no time to evolve these things. We have to do it right away. 2023. Layoffs, 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 layoffs. It's kind of interesting. I wrote a press release around this time, 2022, 23, about a perfect storm happening. Um, when we look at companies like Amazon who are laying off and Google laying off and all the other companies, the list of them went on and on and on and on. We overhired, especially in tech. We're laying off in droves, not just in the US, but around the world. And leaders had to navigate survivor syndrome for the people that stayed. Trust between employees and organizations really eroded as these layoffs became the norm. 2 or 3 layoffs in a single year. The recession was rising, and interest rates. It was an interesting time. The other thing is, so we had layoffs, we had this recession, and the other thing that I wrote about is for many leaders at that time were still new at leadership, but They have never lived through a financial crisis, a recession in their life, never mind having to navigate through it. So that was a whole big change. So 2019, we were doing good. We figured out we need to worry about digital transformation and engagement. 2020, COVID-19 happens, and we're worried about Wi-Fi and ergonomic chairs, and how do we make our people happy working at home. 2021, hiring frenzies happen. 2022, where inflation and recession, and we're laying off and going back, holding money really tight. 2023, layoffs continue. PE firms, venture capital firms face stalled exits. They make money by buying companies, building them up, and having an exit where they make money. They are holding on to companies much longer than ever before, which is also leading to delivering fewer results and resources and less money to use. Now, last year, 2024, um, hybrid fatigue and empathy gap. This is really interesting. There are companies on either side of the working from home. We started to see companies like Amazon and Google, Apple try to bring their people back into the office. Amazon said to their people last year, not too long ago, that they want people back in the office 5 days a week. They want people to be working together, seeing each other. Um, Productivity, I don't think was a problem, but what I hear a lot from many leaders is innovation and creativity has gone down when people are working from home. The whole relationship between workers have changed in this very hybrid model. We used to have this concept of my work family. We were close, we understood each other, we helped each other. Now, as hybrid and remote really sets in, relationships become more transactional, more task orientated, and it really dwindles the corporate cultures of a lot of organizations that made them who they are today. It's eroding that away. And there are some interesting things on people on both sides of that coin. On LinkedIn, I saw a post that Spotify had this huge poster up on the side of a building. It looked like in Manhattan that we believe our employees are adults and we can trust them working from home. So there are people on both sides of the coin. And I think from a financial point of view, um, excuse me if you're a CFO, but I think CFOs kind of look at it in a way, wow, I could save a lot of money because I can close down offices that I don't need because people aren't there. And I think that's great, but we need to find the balance of how do we get people working together and getting real relationships, because that is the basis of the culture of your organization, the morale, the retention. um, Spending money to replace people is different. So we have to figure out that balance. 2024 also demanded more empathy, more purpose. Leaders are struggling to balance their operational needs and what I'm under pressure to do, what my boss wants me to do, and my people. How do I keep them happy? How do I understand them? How do I coach them? Um, and at the other side, I brought up PE and venture capital pressures are getting really high, and they need to get their companies to scale or fail. That's it, right? Despite the budgets and timelines, you need to scale. Buying habits still are increasingly selective with consumers and businesses. Loyalty is a little bit different. I could tell you this, that my own daughter started using Target online a lot during the pandemic, and then found it to be amazingly convenient and still uses it every day. She's starting to go back to the store. I think people are going back. They're finding things less expensive in the store. They get you out of the house. Antoinette, I think you said this, that for better or worse, we're interacting with others. Things are less expensive out there. Yes, that's all true. We want to get out there and do more. At the same time, it is what it is. So now we're turning over into 2025. Look at all these things that happened since 2020. We have everything. Hybrid is dysfunctional. We're trying to figure it out. What is the balance between productivity and creativity and innovation that we need? And um, getting people to work with each other, morale, all those things. There's a lot of uncertainty that happens. We have a new administration coming in. What's going to happen? How's that going to work out? Exits have stalled for those portfolio companies. AI has come in. Of course, AI has been around a lot, but it really reached a tipping point where we're talking about it. We're using it on a daily basis. What does it really mean? And in 2024, because we had pressures of people, it's like, can we use AI and lay off a bunch of people? Can we save money using it? So there is a whole new world out here. So we have this difference, hybrid dysfunction, economic pressures. I talk to leaders every day. And what I'm hearing more and more and more through 24 to today is that there's a lot more financial pressures within their organization of getting things done, getting it done quickly, getting it done not on time, but early, and spend less money. So there is a shift to short term tactics to get things done at the cost of long term strategy. Now, from a software point of view, we call that building technical debt. You're doing quick and dirty just to get it out, thinking you'll fix it later, but we never get to fix it later. We just build that technical debt that we have to fix it, we have to fix it until things fall apart. We have an AI disruption. It isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's really transforming how we lead and operate. Leaders who don't figure out how to adapt and use these will fall behind. And we have big cultural expectations. Employees, stakeholders are all demanding purpose, inclusivity, innovation, all while delivering results with a side of therapy sessions with our people. How does that work? If you were a leader previous to this, you might find your way through it because you have some experience. I really feel sorry for many of the people who are new to leadership trying to do this. As a side note, this is why I put together a leadership retreat that's going to happen in Napa Valley in April. It'll be beautiful weather. We'll be in the probably in the low 70s. It'll be a 3-day retreat. We'll have some wine. We'll have some dinners. and we're going to be talking about and setting up your leadership for 2025 and beyond. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Either put it in the chat here or DM me later. So think about that. So tell me, we're kind of at time here. Tell me what you're thinking. How do you think this changes leadership in the coming years? What are your challenges? I know that talking to people, they are going to really be more conversational. They want to be in here. So you tell me what's going on in 2025 for you. Um, hey, I could tell you I'm already behind the eight ball. I usually put out a leadership blog on Tuesday. This Tuesday, I forgot about it because I was so busy. So I ended up putting it out yesterday, which was a little bit about what we talked about today. So if you're interested, go back there. It has great information of what is leading us to all these problems in 2025. Um, so you tell me what's going on in your world. Yes, Ari, welcome. You're saying being proactive as opposed to reactive. Yes, yes, it's extremely hard to be pre proactive because there's so much hitting you today. This is why I put together, if you read in my book, my lead framework. It is how to be adaptable. It gives a framework to looking at things every 30 days, every 90 days are kind of the feedback loops to look at how your vision and strategy is going, how your execution is going. Um, A is so it's lean into your story is vision and strategy. Empowering your story is how we execute with your people. A is about amplifying your story and talks about people, culture, processes. Many times we have processes that we put together 5 years ago, and it's really not supporting us today. And they're very important. Process systems and processes is how your employees interface with your business. Now, you know from your smartphone and software we use, if you have a good interface, things go a lot smoother. If your processes and systems are not a good interface for your employees to get things done, it's excuse me, a shit show. It really is. So we need to think about culture, about people and processes. D is durability for your story. How do you lead in a way that becomes durable for you? This is about your executive presence, how you communicate, how people see you, your brand, or what we used to call your reputation. And inside of that is your life balance because you are one person. How do you get that to work together? So that framework with feedback loops help you adapt and be more proactive. If you want to know more about that, you can reach out to me, DM me. I look at my LinkedIn every day. Check that out, and we will see how we can help you with that. But yes, being more proactive. So we're kind of at time for today. Um, if you came late, please let me know and I'll chat with you. You can talk to me anytime. You can set up a virtual coffee. I'm open to a virtual coffee. You could go to that at jimsaliba.com/meetings with an S pound virtual coffee. jimsaliba.com/meetings pound virtual coffee. If you need the link, just let me know and I'll send it to you. So I want to say thank you for joining. I enjoy having you come and meet with me. I'm going to start doing these every Thursday, 8 o'clock in the morning if you're on the West Coast, 11 o'clock in the morning if you're on the East Coast. You know your time zone and you can come. I post early in the week what the topic will be. If you want a topic for us to explore, let me know and I'll be happy to do it. Also, I'm going to be looking for guests to change this up a little bit and have some conversations with other leaders so you're not just listening to my voice and you can hear other points of view. If you would like to be one of my guests, let me know, or you know somebody, let me know, and we'll do that. In the meantime, it's coming up to our first weekend after a long first week of 2025. So have a great weekend. I'll see you next week.